Hello, happy Saturday. I'm so glad we're together. We get to craft all morning long. Of course, some of you it's afternoon. We are going to go ahead and start with the back of page 1. We've got this one complete. Well, hi Tiffany, waterfall, and this page. We'll probably get to this page. We'll see how it goes. I know sitting too long isn't always that fun. So we're going to just start with this very simple pocket. And all you need for that is from your scraps when you cut your other pages is a 7x4 inch piece of your cardstock that you're constructing your album with. And then I already cut this so I can show you basically. This is the 8x8. This goes over here with our great baseball players. I will be using this 8x8 sheet. It's not quite hot here, Bev. I don't know if Utah's going to work on that today or not, getting a little bit hotter, but our weather's been really nice, but really crazy for this time of year. Now, I have seen it snow in July in Utah many, many years ago. But we're actually going to start hitting the 90s towards the 4th of July week. So we will be getting there. That is what you'll need. And then I'm going to use a strip from the flags for the pocket. Super simple pocket, just a 7x4. Hi, Jen. And we are going to score. You know, I don't know how I lose my scoring tools. I need to not lose my tags. But I do lose my favorite scoring tools because I stick them places and I don't remember where I put them. This one will work. Okay. 7x4, 4 inches is across the top of your scoreboard. And we're going to score at 1/2 inch. Turn so the 4 is at the top and score at 1/2 inch. And again, with the 7 across the top at 1/2 inch. I washed my scoreboard and it's not completely dry. I guess just a few spots. Good thing it's on the inside of the pocket. So is everyone in their craft room today? I know I've missed being in my craft room. I haven't been in for a while. I mean, no, I'm in here. I just haven't been able to craft. So before we put this pocket down, I am going to check my fitting. And I always cut my pockets just a hair short on the width, so I know it's going to fit. You're crafting too? Yeah, I love when it's quiet. And right now, Homer and Wilbur are asleep and everybody's gone. So it's just the perfect formula for being in your craft room. Let's miter the corners. Ooh. Thank you, Jen. That's going to be a great project. I need to actually, I haven't even used Majestic Dreams. And I want to use that. I have a friend that has horses. Of course, we used to have horses. And I really should make it for my horses, but I'm going to make it for hers. Okay, let's just go ahead and glue our pocket down. This is super simple. Hi, Renee. How are you? I wish you could hear the beagles snoring. I wish they made a CPAP for beagles. These two, like an orchestra down here with their snores. Good girl, Renee. It sounds like you finish one project before you go on to the next. I know I do. Don't like to have a bunch unfinished or I won't finish them. I just want to get that glue. And if you have a spatula or anything, I'm just going to. Oh, yeah, they do. I don't know why they snore so much. Okay, that pocket is good. So now we can mat the inside. I did show already where I cut this off when I first started. And our page is 6 inches wide. So I cut this to 5 7/8. Might have to be just a little bit shorter. Let's see if it's going to fit okay in the pocket. Oh, yeah, we're fine. Then I'm going to, so I wanted it to look a little continuous on the pocket. So I did cut at 4 3/4. That's what's going to fit down inside the pocket. You need to have it up a little bit so that he shows. Let me show you. Okay, and then set it there. Then the idea was to kind of get that look. And then I am going to cut some off the bottom because I want the flags. So I'm just going to let that sit. And before I cut anything off of this piece, I'm just going to take a row of the flags. And I just want to cut off that bottom part. And then we'll cut a row of the flags. To be the border. And I want it to start off with the full flag. And then just turn it. And this little piece measures almost 3/4. So now I know I can take 3/4 of an inch off the bottom. And do, save those pieces because they're great matting pieces if you need to fill in a spot that maybe you cut too short. Or you just want a border like we're doing now. So it's going there. And I'll put the flags here. Nice little space there. And now we can ink those and put them down in our book. You don't want every page to be pop-ups or complicated because you'll never get your book done. That's why it's nice to just, and it's also nice to have the pocket because our pop-up we did just Thursday doesn't quite have the space for photos. And if you're using either Graphic 45 or you have the Heartfelt Creation book tag dies, then you've got photo spots to addition that take up, because this doesn't, there's just no room for photos. It's just more of a decoration, but you could put a photo on the front if you wanted to cover that up. Yeah, everybody's saying how hot it is, and I'm wearing a sweater. Very, very unusual in Utah. But my studio does stay nice and cool. And I need to check. I hope Heartfelt Creations has them back in stock. They had been out for a while. They are a great die. Hi, Annette. How are you? Haven't seen you in a while. Okay, now this is barely going to fit into the pocket. Because if you cut it any shorter, you're going to cut his head too much. So it just sits at the inside of the pocket. 90. Wow. Yeah, we've had some good rainy days. So it's been a little bit wet, which is nice. We needed. Wow. Didn't get that side very well. There. Now it looks like he's continuous, even though we did cut a little bit. Yeah, Texas gets very hot. I know Sandy's been saying how hot it is. Oh, good, Orla. Then we can send Sally to the beach, and she'll be so happy if we can get her to the beach. You know, either side of this is pretty cool. This is the bottom part that had, oh, I cut it up like the postage stamps. That looks kind of cool too. But we'll stick with the flags. No, same glue, just that different topper. I had some of these tops in the store. One of the designers gave this to me, and it just fits. Nope, still art glitter glue. Only glue I'll use. I've tried the others. For me, I like this one. Kathy, that's a great idea because then you'll get lots of Christmas gifts made. And then again, you can cut your graphic 45, or maybe if you have the Heartfelt Creations, pop them in there. And you've got some other photo spots. Okay, so, oh, you're going to see a video too. I want to show you something that Sally did. And I wish I had another flag fussy cut, because she's going to post it in a little bit. She put the Statue of Liberty right here. So when she opens this, so let me give you kind of an idea. Of course, she used the 8x8. She's going to post her photo. When she opens this, her Statue of Liberty is standing straight up. So on Scrapbookers, watch for that video. You just glue it down here. So when you open it, Statue of Liberty will pop right up. So cool. Yes. She's very, very talented. Of course she is. She's Sally, right? Okay, we're going to create our pole waterfall. And I did post the measurements, but I'll give them to you again as we're going. And you're going to want a 5.5 by 12 inch piece of cardstock, because our waterfall is 5.5 inches wide, pages 6. So that's about, you could make it the whole width of the page, but I'm going 5.5 by 6. Then you'll also need a 5.5 by 6.5. Now for this one, we have to do some extending on the back side. So this full piece will cover that back side here soon. Then my waterfalls, I have 9 of them on this waterfall. And they are 4 by 5.5, and you want 9 of those. Now, if we would have done less, you don't need this back piece. You'll see why. But it works so good, so easy. Oh, and also you should have some 1-inch strips. So when you cut your papers at 5.5 to make your back piece and then your waterfalls, you would have cut off some 1-inch strips, and they don't have to be exactly 1 inch. They can be 1.5, 1 1/8, but you just need 2 of them. We'll have to cut them to fit, of course. Now we're going to start with the 12-inch piece across the top of our scoreboard. And the thing to remember when you're making these waterfalls, if you want to make your waterfall 6 by 6, you would start scoring at 6. I'm making mine 4 by 5.5. So however wide your waterfalls are is where you start your scoring. Okay, so we're going to start at 4 because ours are 4 inches wide. We're going to start at 4 inches. And then we need to score enough gussets for 9 waterfalls to sit. And I do mine at 1/4 inch. That gusset is 1 waterfall. So that's how we're going to count our score lines. So 4, 4 1/4, that's 1. Now 4 1/2, that's 2, because now you have 2 gussets. 4 3/4, we're at 3, 5. So if I only wanted 5, 1, 2, 3, if I only wanted 4 waterfall pieces, sorry, 1, 2, 3, 4, I would stop right there. But we want 9. So we're going to go 5 1/4 for 5, 5 1/2 for 6, 5 3/4 for 7. 6 will give us 8 waterfalls. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 waterfalls. 6 1/4 gives us 8, and 6 1/2. We have 9 spots for waterfalls. 6, 7, 8. Oh, I made too many. 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, 8, 9. I scored 1 extra too many, and that's okay. You just want to smooth that out because it's going on the back side, so it won't matter. 7, 8, 9. Okay. Yeah, we should have stopped at, sorry, 6 1/4. But if you go any further, so that's the other thing. If you change your mind, it's okay. It's going to be on the back side, so it doesn't matter. Oops, something just fell on my paper. So I'm just going to smooth that out, only because I need to have that visual that I'm not going to use it. Because I like to score it again on the back side. So I turned it over, and I'm going to rescore at 4, 4 1/2, 4 3, well, every 1/4 inch up to 6 1/4. Let's see, 4 3/4, 5, 5 1/4, 5 1/2, 5 3/4, 6, and 6 1/4. Now I'm turning it over. I know this may seem monotonous. I do it 3 times. Front, back, front. I'm not scoring super hard, but these 1/4 inch gussets, they're not the easiest to burnish and get perfect. And by doing it this 3 times, watch. Now you're just going to kind of do a rolling effect, just like a roll top desk. Now I can kind of squish them down. They went really easy. I didn't have to struggle to get that 1/4 inch. Like I said, just like a roll top desk. It should go very smooth. Get that bottom one. Okay. So see, now you've got it nice and pretty much trained. So do go back 3 times, front, back, and then front, and then you're going to get a nice rolling waterfall here. See, it's already rounded. It knows what it's supposed to be doing. And we need to start on the 4-inch side. So if we start down here, we've got too much hanging out. That's not going to work. So always start here where it's 4 inches, because my waterfall's 4 inches. And I'm going to place it right in the center. Right in the center of that gusset. So I'm going to hold on a minute. So if you're doing this with me, you just add a small line of adhesive right down the center. Okay. And this is a little bit wider. I should have checked it first. So I'm going to trim this. It's just a hair wider than my waterfall. Oh, that one is. How come these ones aren't? Let me check my waterfalls. Seven, 8. I'm going to cut one more. They should be the same width. I should have checked that first. Much better. Okay, and stop right at the score line. You don't want to go over it. Renee, do you have 2 different accounts? Because I saw you with a green icon too. Or is that not you? Oh, wait a minute. That must be you on YouTube. That's you on YouTube. Never mind. Are you watching me from both places? Just kidding. Okay. We're just going to now add our second. And place that on top. Like I mentioned in the beginning, you can use less waterfalls. It's going to be just about the same size. You're just going to score less. We'll do more burnishing when we get these all put on. And once our adhesive pretty much dries. Well, then you only just cut, Jen, cut it to 4 1/4. You can make this any size you want. Measurements are the same, except for your width. So if you want it to be 8 with 4-inch, you cut your 12-inch strip at 8, and then you cut your waterfalls 8 by 4 or 4 by 8. If you want it to be 6, you can cut this any width you want. You can go 3 inches and it's still going to be the same measurements, everything. It just, the only time the scoring will change is, so if I only wanted 4 waterfalls, I would now stop and you just trim the back. So this is just such an easy way to do this, and you can adjust it to any size you want. You can make it 12 by 12 doing this. We can make 12-inch waterfalls, huge ones. I'll have to do that and show you guys. Long time ago in the Authentique, it was a dessert. It was really cute. All kinds of desserts. I can't remember what it was called. I did a big 12, or maybe it was Easter. It was the Easter. I did a big 12-inch pop-up thing like this, pull down waterfall, and I made it 12 inches wide. And if, like I said, if you change the width of your waterfalls, that's what determines where you're going to score. If these were 6 by 5.5, I would start scoring at 6. So you might have to put, if you go bigger in width, you'll have to add probably 2 12 by 12s together, which is no problem. You just glue them together, 1/4 inch. And then you can make any size your heart desires. So this is number 8. And number 9. So I'm at number 9, and right here in this gusset, so there's no more score marks behind it. I could add more of these if I wanted. You can keep scoring, but I think 9's enough. All right, now we're going to do some burnishing here. I'm just going to go over the whole page for a moment. Fold this back. See, even though I made the mistake and could have put 10 on here, it's not going to matter. This piece that's 5.5 by 6.5, do make sure, let me put it here, make sure they're the same width. So what's going to happen is we will be putting this on here in just a minute. And this is actually going to stick beyond this last waterfall. But right now, we need to just burnish these. And I like to fold this to the back. Your first waterfall, help it down like that. And then I push this one. And then I burnish it because it's right there on that score mark. Not quite dry, so be gentle. When you pick it up, see it's moving by itself. It's sliding, and that's what we want. I just lay that down and fold that back. I think this is necessary. And the reason it's necessary is this is what's going to make it go so smooth. Okay, now go ahead. You're going to see the bottom. See the bottom starting to push out. Push that down. Hold it and push the bottom one over. And burnish. This piece is growing. Watch. And just hold this piece now that's coming out. Push that down and over. And over. We're just kind of accordion folding, but we're burnishing. That glue off there. So those score lines are nice and crisp. And that's my last one. And there we go. So holding this back piece, see, I can push it really easy. It should go just like a Rolodex, really smooth. See how well that works? Isn't that awesome? Now, what we need to do is go ahead and place this piece on. And I like to put it on the inside. You'll see why here in a minute. And I've already figured out the measurement for you. I'm going to show you how to do that. So as you can see, this back is too short, and this back is what becomes our pull tab. And you can put a long pull tab there. So if you wanted, you could just place a piece of cardstock, or even you could do ribbon. You would just decide where you want it. Of course, you got to put pattern paper on top. Any seams is going to cause it to catch. But watch. See, the back is shorter. And the reason the back's shorter is I've done so many waterfalls. But this is going to become, see, that would become my pull tab. Because it's going to stick out now from the bottom of the waterfall. But I don't want that look. So what I do is I lay my waterfall down because I know the back's too short, and I know my waterfall gussets are 1/4 of an inch, and I just need another 1/4 of an inch so that I can make it match. So that would be your 6.5, because this lands about 6 1/4. That's where I got this 6.5 length. So when I place that right on top, see, it just looks like another waterfall. Super easy. Now we're going to take our adhesive, because we need to put that down. It's like, it's called our, we'll just call it an extension. So it's the extension. Okay, we'll mess with that later. Oh, I have to put everything little in plastic away, because Homer has decided eating everything he can find now seems to be fun. He's a late bloomer. See the back? We are going to want, we want to pattern paper the back, because this seam, you'll see in a minute, our mechanism will get stuck. I do want to put pattern paper here, because when I pull it down, it's going to show. And we already know the size, 5.5 by 6.5. So let's cut a piece that's 5 3/8 by 6 3/8. You don't have to have it go all the way up if you don't want to, but I just do it because it takes the guesswork out of it. I'm just looking for the paper I'm going to use, and it's red. Where'd my 8x8 go? There they are. I want to keep pretty much to the same album. Maybe. Let's go with that one. And then for the back side, actually, I'm just going to use the back of this because you're not going to see it. And on this one, I had used red. And then we'll make a little tab here too. But this time I'll just go blue. 5 3/8. Actually, I am going to cut this at 6. That 3/8 of a difference won't matter. And we won't put it all the way to the top. So the back side has the seam. And you're just going to put it to the bottom because this top part nobody will see. I'll just put this to the bottom. Nobody's going to see this. But it's nice and lightweight. It's not as heavy as the cardstock. You could mat it with another piece of cardstock, but I think it's kind of heavy. If you're just joining the tutorial, there's 2 more parts. There's the cover tutorial, and I talk about that in number 1, and it's also posted on Scrapbookers of Country Craft Creations. And then we did number 1, which is on YouTube and in Facebook, and it's I use the 8x8 and the 12x12 paper collection to create our album. So we're going to place this at the bottom because the top won't be seen. I'm trying to stay inside also, Renee, because there's too much hard work out there to do. And I think your hubby's doing a great job getting it done. Because if I stay inside, see, I don't have to do it. Well, you start at 4, Jen, because our waterfalls are 4 inches wide. So we started at 4 inches is our first score line. And then we just go 4, 4.5 until you get 9 gussets. See these gussets? And then that's where we put our 9 waterfalls. Uh-oh, Wilbur's awake. No, Homer's awake. Okay, now, how's this waterfall going to work, right? We are going to take these 2, mine are 1 inch by 12 inch strips. And I'm just going to put them together. Nothing perfect here, because you don't see these either. Flip your waterfall open so it looks like this. 4 inches is at the top. And I'm going to go about an inch. Well, you don't even have to go an inch down. I'm going to go about 3/4 to an inch down. You don't have to be perfect on the measurement here. Of course, you don't want it to be clear in the middle. Stay at the top about between 1/2 and 1 inch. I don't even measure it. I just eyeball it. So that's about a 1/2 inch. We don't want anything too analytical here that we have to figure out. We just want a fabulous working waterfall mechanism. And we don't have to think about it, right? Okay. Close it. Flip it over. This is important. Do not pull it tight. Don't pull it tight. If you have to, grab something like a little paintbrush, whatever you need, because you got to have room. This thing's got to slide. So I'll cut this off in the middle, approximately in the middle. And again, take something small and just place it there so you don't pull it too tight. I mean, we want to pull it, but we don't want to have it tight, or you're not going to have a mechanism that works. Then just find a spot that you can overlap and glue. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect. Just don't pull it tight. Add glue to the center. Kind of keeping my finger there so I don't pull it tight. Because if you do, it's not going to work. I'm going to hold that down. Oh, this will pull. It's a little harder now till we get it glued down. But you'll see it's going to slide. And that's why you don't want it to be too tight. Okay. Once we know it's going to work great, we can grab the album. And you do want to mat the back of the page before we put it down. So we're going to mat the back. And I did use an 8x8 sheet. And it doesn't have to be an 8x8 sheet. I think I'll go ahead and cut from here. Because what I'm going to do is, I have these postage stamps at the bottom. The 8x8 was a little bit smaller. But I'm going to go ahead and go with this one. Because we're not going to see a lot of this. Because the waterfowl will sit on top. And our length is 7 7/8. And then what happens, see, our waterfall will sit right on top. Or you can use the back side. That looks kind of cool too. Then what I did, I'm not going to mat this because it's very simple. We just double mat the red cardstock. I cut it 5 3/8 by 3 7/8. And then this was cut from your 8x8 sheet. And I cut this at 5 1/4 by 3 3/3. So 5 1/4 by 3 3/4. And then I just went with the red ivory blue, and they're 5 3/8 by 3 7/8. And it's super easy to mat while it's even down on the book. And then on here, I'll do that with you. We just cut strips. And I'll put the Library of Congress seal there. Yeah, there's no way I'm going to work outside in the heat either. But I don't really have an excuse. It's not hot here today. That's why I scheduled the class. I am not a yard. I like the yard, but I'm not a yard work person. Never have been. And yeah, growing up, my mother, my brothers, everybody else has green thumbs. I just wanted to stay inside and sew on my mother's sewing machine. While everybody was outside working. All right. Now, when we put our waterfall down, oh yeah, pay people. Absolutely. Yes. We don't want to, I'm just going to make sure we're not tight. We don't want to glue this. We only want to glue this. Keep the glue pretty much in the center. Hi, Christine. I want a little bit of those images to show. They look kind of cool. Lift some of these up. There we go. Let's get in there and something flat. The boys were dragged from, I was the only girl, so I kind of had an advantage. But if I stayed inside, I had to also do things like clean the fridge, dust before I could play with the sewing machine. So being the only girl had its advantages. So see, we can still grab this. Oh, it works so nice. Look at that. But we do want a pull tab. It'll just be easier to grab. But yours should be working this well too. It should have no catches and it should just glide. And it's not going to come out. It is in the back, but it just stays down. That's how we did it too, Rhea. We were inside. Of course, I was the only girl. Okay, I want to do a pull tab. And for that, I used the 8x8s. You know what? I had everything really organized last night. So this doesn't make sense where my 8x8s have gone off to. There we go. So, yes. No, my mom loved yard work. I used this one. My mom still loves yard work at 90. She's out there. And she can grow anything, absolutely anything. Her plants in the house are just amazing in her solarium. It's crazy. Okay, now I'm just going to go ahead and clean this up so everything's nice and straight. And it's going to be the pull tab. For strength, I'm going to double mat it. I'll mat this, not really double mat. Do you mean red or blue artisan cardstock? I'm sorry, I don't know. I'm terrible when it comes to keeping track. I would say when it comes to what you're matting with, probably you're going to want like 5 to 8 sheets of your coordinating colors. And that might be a little much, but it'll be safe. So I'm going to cut this at 2 5/8 because I don't need a big border. I usually just start with 225 packs, Cheryl, and I should get better at counting what's left, but I just don't. And then 1 7/8. I get busy with something else, and then it's out the door. So that will give me just a little bit of color, but it won't be too big. So again, I cut mine at 1 7/8 by 2 5/8. So just measure yours after you get yours cut, or you may be using an actual pull tab, no pull tab, a ribbon, or something different. And I took this from the 8x8 sheet. And if you get the 6x6 sheet, this is even smaller because this is available in all 3 sizes. Okay, well, it's a cold now, so that's kind of good. And I just updated the website, Cheryl. There should be blue on there. And the placement is you want to be able to pull it. I don't want it. I mean, you could have it hang over your page, but it'll get damaged. So I'll just kind of mark the center with my eyeballs here. Gonna kind of, I don't really measure at this point. So I just put my thumb where I want the glue to be, which is up above there. Then we can pull it down. And if I need to add any more, I can. Let's see here. I just updated it last night unless somebody totally bought all the singles again. So I want to make sure this is really dry. That's why I'm holding it for a minute, because I don't want to grab it and pull it. Wow. Somebody did go hog wild on the blue, so I'll add some more. And Cheryl, it's updated on the single sheets. Okay, now it should be nice and dry. And that is going to hit a little bit. There's nothing we can do there. Once we add this, there you go. There's your pull down waterfall. Once you get everything matted to it, lays nice and flat. And I'll show you how I did. I'll show you how I did this back piece. And we need to start with a 4x6 piece of cardstock. And again, I just used my cover sheets for this. And I'm just going to cut it 4x6 because then we'll cut it down in a minute. And then I didn't even really measure the papers when I do this. So I grab whatever I have left. I'm just reaching over here. See, I just grab what I have for scraps. So this is 4x6. We're going to trim this down in a minute. We'll trim it to fit. See, right now it's too big, and that's okay. We're just going to go ahead and add our cardstock, and I'm going to glue it down. And if you have a glue, well, art glitter glue dries pretty fast, so I have to kind of work in sections. I think we'll go that way. And turn it over, and we can just burnish it again. Then I'll take a red. Let's see what we got here. Like I said, I like to just do scraps. overlap just a little bit. And I'll probably use Craft. I didn't grab any ivory. And I used Craft on the original one. Again, I'm not even measuring. I'm just cutting. So I'm going to cut this in half. Hi, Sherry. How are you? At 6. And we're just going to fill in with glue. Not worried about the corner because that's why you want to cut this longer than what you need. So you don't have to worry about being perfect. And with this side in my cutter now, I'm just going to trim. Right now, it's not going to be perfect. As you can see, I'm just trimming it to match my base. Always cut this bigger. Okay, so now I can go ahead and cut it the size I need. And I need 3 7/8 by 5 3/8. We'll ink the edge so it looks nice and kind of blends everything in. And there you go. That's what it will look like. Now, because I have blue here, and I was using this as a sample. I'm not going to lay this down right now because I don't want blue on blue per se. So I'll make another one, but definitely I'll save this for something else. So that is how you do that. And that's how we're going to do our next section or our next page. Where I do all these strips. And on this one, I think I did put in the measurements. Go ahead and cut your piece at the 6 3 or 6 7/8 by 5 7/8. But I'm just going to go ahead and cut mine at 6 by 8. How did I lose the cover sheet we were just using? There it is. I'm going to cut it on my big cutter. So I'm just using this. I'm going to cut it 6 by 8. We're going to trim it down in a second. And again, no rhyme or reason. We've now been working with a lot of scraps. So just grab your scraps and cut them. Just cut them to a bunch of widths. See how we've got plenty of scraps to use just from what we did last night. Again, you don't have to have them any certain lengths. That one's a little off. We won't use that one. And just do varied sizes. So this is good, especially with papers that you're going to throw in the garbage. We've got some red. And I'm going to do about 12 strips. I'll do front and back. Just keep him in case. And because I do want some darker, but you're going to need to use some of your 12-inch sheets. In the middle of your pages is where it's going to be, you're going to need those longer widths. So we'll just cut a few of those and we're going to get started. Now you can ink all these edges if you want, or you don't have to. Now, we're just going to find kind of what we want to start with. Of course, these smaller ones, we can just cut them as we need. Overlap there. And don't forget, the backs are different, so you can just turn those right over and use the backs if you want as you're going. I stick mine out a little bit. This is really fun, kind of relaxing on a Saturday, actually. Get some glue underneath anywhere you need. I'm going to want to use that when we get down this way. All right, let's bring some red in. And as you can see, I don't really worry about where the glue goes. Because we'll get back to that. Now, you could even start going different ways if you want on this. I'm just going to keep going all the same way, but you sure could go different ways. This one should have been longer. No, it's already down. We'll fix that a different way. Go with the stars. And definitely I need more color, something a little different. Well, hi, Sheila. Hope you're having a good time. I'll go from this side. A little bit of our baseball into there. Yeah. Great way to use up your scraps too. I did this in the farm album we did with Graphic 45. Remember that orange and yellow and black? Oh, that farmhouse paper was my favorite. And it was fun to do this and have all the different papers. How about some more dark blue? Yeah, let's get some more dark blue in there. Hi, Beverly. Now let's move. Grab a hold of this. Okay, I'll just fill this in because I can work pretty fast. Okay. And you can do the same thing by going diagonal. You can do it any direction that you like. Now down here, because I made that boo-boo, I'm just going to add a piece in. Super easy fix. Then we're going to turn it over. Really burnish that down. And we're going to trim it. This is why it's good, again, to always make your background paper bigger. And it's good to use a lighter weight cardstock if you're going to be matting this on top, so you don't have it, so it's not so heavy. So now you're not going to want to get rid of any of your scraps because you can make these on 12 by 12 and then cut them as you need. That's also fun to do. And see my little boo-boo spot? It's not a problem. So the first thing I want to do is just try and trim it now with the trimmer as close to my base as possible. Okay. So stay on your base if you can to start with. I'm getting glue on my cutter. It's going to need to be cleaned. Once you trim it off, and you can even make your base even bigger than this if you're worried. I'm going to use my big cutter, and I'm going to cut this down now to 5 7/8 by 7 7/8. And there we go. Super easy, super fun, no stress there. And then I love it because my paper kind of tells the story. And I think that's really cool. And like I said, it's just really also a great way to use your leftovers. Okay, let's go ahead and ink this up. I am going a little bit heavier on the ink. And you can even distress the whole page if you want. And when you make these, you can see why it's better just to use a lighter weight cardstock if you have something that's more of a 65 pound instead of your 87 artisan because it adds a lot of bulk. But I've done cards this way. And then I just put it right on top of the card base. So we're going to put this down now on our page. And there you go. Now, for the matting, I did give the measurements. It's in the video. It's at the top. And I gave the measurements for your photo mat. And I used the red, the blue, and the white. So if you look back up there, you'll be able to see the measurements. And I just made the little tags. George Washington, straight off of our 8x8 paper pad. And then you can just slide your photo inside there. Make sure that's down. Isn't that gorgeous? I just love it. And I love, yeah, that we used up our papers. So look at that. This is, I think you've got some impressive pages here, but it hasn't taken us all that long. And that's what I love. I love an album that kind of has an impact, but we don't have to work forever on it because we want to get it done, right? Now we're just going to create these little pockets. Again, you've got graphic 45 tags, or if you've got the heartfelt creation tag dies. That was why I created these this size, so the small tags will fit in there for photos. And super simple again. So let's go ahead and mat the page first. So pick out what you want to use for your matting. And I used the red stars from the 8x8 because they're smaller. Let's see. Yes, they are smaller. Now, you may ask how I clean this too. Let me tell you something really quick. I do my scoreboard this way because there's so much glue in here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take this out. And this is actually going upstairs. And I'm going to scrub it with warm water and Dawn and a scrub brush. Then it will dry. And it's going to be just back to new. I do that with my scoreboards at night too. Dawn dish soap, hot water in the sink, and you are good to go. So let me get some stars going here. Smaller ones. And again, I will cut this 5 7/8 by 7 7/8. Cardstock. We want 2 pieces of our, oh, it's going on this page. Whoops. Yeah, we want 2 pieces of cardstock. That is going to be 5 by 5. No, I'm sorry. And you know I put it on wrong? It's 5 by 4.5. So go ahead and cut, if you already cut those. I put down 5 by 5, but they're 5 by 4.5. So you just want to cut a 1/2 inch off. Otherwise, your tags will fall inside of the pocket. I'm going to go ahead and ink my page. We're going to put this down. And our next tutorial will be on Tuesday at 11 o'clock, the 28th. We're going to finish up the album. And for the album cover and the rosettes, I will be doing that with a video. So you can, those take a while. And I burn myself a lot. And then I swear, that's where all these come from, is from making rosettes. Oh, I had a bad one here. It took the whole layer of skin. It was bad. And when you're on camera, you really can't say what you want to say, right? When you get burnt with a glue gun, because it's pretty furious when you get burnt. So we'll be doing that with a video. It won't be live. Because glue guns are vicious. And you got to use a glue gun when you're making rosettes. It's really the only way I can do it. Okay, our base is ready. Now all we have to do is make our pockets. And I'm going to put, well, they're 4.5 long. Okay, so we want the 5 at the top of the scoreboard. And we'll score it 1/2 inch. Then we'll move it to the 4.5 at the top of the scoreboard and score again 1/2 inch. Back to 5 at 1/2 inch. And let's repeat at the 5 across the top at 1/2 inch, then 4.5 at the top, 1/2 inch, and back to 5 at 1/2 inch. And we do want to mat these before we put them in our book. If we don't, then you're not going to get the bottom matting on the pocket, because they lay on top of each other. Well, the bottom one lays on top of the top one. I hope I said that right. Okay. That's good. Well, hello, Rena. So now my pockets are going to open on the left-hand side. And we are going to mat them. And then what happens is, see, one is going to sit on top of the other. So that's why we want to mat this piece. And here's what I use for the matting. This was actually the cover sheet. And we pretty much, oh wow, I lucked out. I pretty much used most of that cover sheet, but if you grab the cover sheet, if you've been cutting it, you should have enough. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and cut this 3 7/8. Now we're going to cut 3 7/8 by 3 7/8. I'm hoping I can use this one. We're okay. The only thing is, this was also from the cover sheet, but I don't have any left, so we'll use, oh wait, yes, oh no, there's not enough there. we'll use something else. So I actually should have my 8x8, some of that cover sheet left, but I think it's buried, so we won't worry about it. It won't work. That was the last piece to it. So we'll choose something different. And I want to go more with the baseball. So let's pull out one of our baseball sheets. Now it is directional. So make sure that when you're cutting it, you're going to go the right direction because the opening's to the left. And well, it really, I guess it kind of doesn't matter where it's squared. And that will sit on top. We are going to mat these before we put them down. Okay, let's grab our album. And then okay, let's kind of do a placement. You need about, if you want your to be able to grab the tag. So I put mine about a 1/2 inch from this edge. And then this one will stagger towards the back a little bit. So let's go ahead and glue or put adhesive on your flaps. And the tags that I used on the Heartfelt Creations, so they're about 4 1/4 by 2 3/4. And if that way, if you're going to cut your own tags, or you can make them longer if you like. All right, let's get the bottom one done. And that is where we're going to stop today, because then on Tuesday, we will do page 4, and I will have the video up for you also on your album cover and the front and back cover. Your album's done for the 4th of July, so you're ready to put those photos in. And celebrate. Those down. Let's check that nothing is glued to the book. I touch one thing and everything else falls. Okay. Finished book. Postage stamps. I cut those from the 12 by 12. Oh, that's really neat that you've got a 4th of July kid. How fun. Twine. And then that was just from the 8 by 8s. No, I may have cut that off the bottom of the 8. No, that was from the 8 by 8. Sorry. Just glued it down. It says World Champions. And that's where we leave. I'm leaving you today. So Tuesday, you'll need some ribbon. I think we're out of this in the store. I need to look. And if you don't have the tag dies from Heartfelt Creations, it's okay. You can use any. I'll show you. We'll just draw it. Mainly, I mean, you'll just cut it. That is just like an extra layer to give some dimension, but that's where the photo would go. We're going to create this little booklet that just sits on the front cover on Tuesday, and I'll have the cutting guide up for you. And we are also then going to create this back page. So this doesn't have to be a Tim Holtz window, but they are in stock at countrycarvecreations.com. And you can also use, if you have any left over from any Simple Stories lines, if you have some frames, I know you've got something in there that's going to coordinate well. And I'll look in I love the Simple Stories frames also. And then I just used a die punch. So if you want to add that, I wanted this to look like there's the Statue of Liberty actually underneath there that we were looking out the window at the fireworks kind of. And this will be on the video. I'll do the video so that you guys, I have glued that down. We don't have to prolong it. And then also this will be on the video also up Tuesday. So when we finish page 4, you can go ahead and get all your covers and all the fun stuff finished. And that's where I'll leave you. So that's quite a lot. Lots of room for pictures right here. You've got 18 photos. 20. You can put quite a few photos in here. Really, you're not going to have hundreds for the 4th of July. Well, I don't think you will. Just in case you do, you can make 2 albums now. Okay, guys, I'll see you Tuesday at 11 o'clock in the morning, Mountain Standard Time. Have a wonderful rest of your weekend. Bye-bye.